Okay, so what we're going to start with is a question that we did like a couple of days ago, a couple of
सर
classes ago. Yes, go ahead.
सर मैंने आपको एक क्वेश्चन भेजा था ना, वहाँ जहाँ मैंने कंस्ट्रेंट यूज करती थी।
Yes.
वहाँ पे जितना स्ट्रिंग होगा सबका लेंथ हमें लेना होगा, या किसी कुछ
See,
कुछ का।
if you have something like a string here, and what was it? This was connected to another pulley, right?
यस सर।
And you went. There was another mass here. There was one mass here, and this was connected to the top. See, how many constraints will be there? First of all, one, two, three, four. Let's name all these strings: A, B, C, D. Right. So
यस
first constraint would be length of A plus length of B plus length of C plus length of D should be equal to zero. But there will be
सर।
another constraint, right? The constraint being that a length of A plus length of B should also be constant because the pulleys. So the distance from here to here is never changing because this is connected to the top. So you'll also
यस
have length of A plus length of B is equal to zero. That would
सर,
essentially mean that length of
अगर
huh?
अगर लेंथ ऑफ डी को कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे तो आंसर चेंज हो रहा था।
Obviously it will change, right?
अच्छा, मतलब जितना स्ट्रिंग होगा सभी का कंस्ट्रेंट हमें
Obviously,
ले।
obviously because it's the total length that is conserved, right?
ओके। यस यस।
Make sense?
यस सर।
But there is another additional constraint here. Do you see the other constraint because of the figure, because of how it's arranged? That is also giving another constraint equation. So, anywho, there was this question that we were doing where there was this bird, and we shot a projectile with a, let's say, a speed q at an angle alpha, and we shot that such that when we shot, the bird started moving in the right direction, in the direction opposite to where the stone is coming from, and it starts moving at some speed, let's say ub, and then you miss, but still the bird keeps on traveling and it reaches a maximum height. So let's say this height was h, this total maximum height is 2h, that's given. And what you say is that when the bird reaches here, you actually hit the bird at the end. Now, such a question, when we tried to solve it in the previous class, became really, really complicated because so we had an x-axis where you had the speed of the, let's say, the stone in the along the x-axis is what u cos alpha, right? Because this is the cos alpha element, so u cos alpha. Yeah, along the x-axis we're going, and for the bird, you have ux as the bird given to be ub, and you had the y-axis where you had a velocity, initial velocity along the y-axis of the stone to be equal to u sine alpha. And for the bird, it wasn't moving along the y-axis; it was only moving along the x-axis. So the speed of y with this, of the bird is just zero. This question became really, really complicated, if you remember. Now, if you just change your perspective slightly here, if you just go and sit on top of the bird, what will happen? What will essentially happen is that the bird will be stationary. So essentially what you're doing is you're just subtracting ub from both the x's, so that your ux of the bird just becomes zero, and your ux of the stone changes to u cos alpha minus ub being the speed of the bird. So now it just becomes one body problem. Now it's just that you're sitting on the bird and the stone is thrown at this speed with this as the y-axis and this y component and this as the x component, and then you hit the bird. So now I want you guys to go ahead and actually do this calculation and tell me what the answer was. So the question was essentially here. Give me a second. It's in a different folder, so I have to go there every single time.
सर इसमें h क्या था?
H is given to you with some height. H.
सर निकालना क्या है?
Just give me a second. Trying to find the question. Yes, here it is. Um, if the stone, okay, find the ratio between the horizontal velocities of the bird and the stone. So essentially, you need to find out. So what you need to find out is the ratio. I just write it down. Ratio of the horizontal velocities.
Sir, h is the height where the bird gets hit, right?
I'm sorry.
H is the height where the birds get hit, right?
Yes, H is so the bird is sitting on a pole, which is of height H essentially, and the maximum height the stone reaches is 2H. That is also given to you.
सर जब बर्ड को पत्थर लगता है वो हाइट दे रखी नहीं दे रखी आई मीन
No, it's always stays at height H, right? Because
ओके
it's
ओके
not
ओके
moving
सर
along the y-axis; it's just moving along the x-axis. The bird is not that smart apparently. It's one of those arcade game birds. Give me a second. Sorry, I started feeling really hot. It's a humid day today.
The acceleration of bird along horizontal direction is 0, right?
Yes, there is no force along the x-axis, right? Neither on the bird nor on the stone. The only force that exists is gravity, which acts along the y-axis.
Sir, UB question में given है?
Yes, it's given to be UB.
Okay, sir. Sir, is it under root u square minus 4hg divided by UB?
Just give me a second. No, it will be a number. It will be 2 by square root. I'll give you some options. Just give me a second. Let me give you these options. So, where is this? Here you are. Go down here. Giving you 4 options. A, where are you? Here you are. It's square root 2 over square root 2 plus 1, or 1 over square root 2 multiplied by square root 2 plus 1, or you'll have 3 over square root 2 plus 1, or you can have 2 over square root 2 plus 1. Yes. Okay, so any thoughts?
Just a minute, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's think about this. Let me rub some things. Where's the whiteboard? Here you are. This is what you need to find out. What can I rub actually? Okay, so as we already discussed, let's sit on the bird in the sense that we become an observer who's moving at the speed which the bird was moving, which was UB, and we start moving along the x-axis. So essentially subtracting UB from both UXs, from the UX of the stone and the UX of the bird. So essentially the bird becomes stationary, its speed becomes 0, and this is the initial speed of the stone along the x-axis. Now two things are given to you. First thing that you're given is that it crosses this point H. So it will cross a point H here as well, right? Where it will essentially go ahead and hit the bird. So essentially, you have one equation here, H is equal to ut plus half at square. So initial velocity along the y-axis is u sine alpha t minus half g t square, right? Now notice that this is a quadratic equation, right? This is a quadratic, it will have two solutions in t. What will the two solutions correspond to? Well, one will be a solution that will be smaller. Let's say the two solutions are T1 and T2. What will happen is that T1 will be, let's say, smaller than T2. So T2 will correspond to the point when it reaches here, and T1 will correspond to the point when it reaches the height h at the first time, right? So that is what essentially the quadratic equation does for you. What we need to find out, let's set up this. Okay, now we know, this is the first thing we know, that it reaches height h twice with these two, the two solutions because of this quadratic equation and blah, blah, blah. Now, it also reaches 2h, and 2h is the height at the maximum, the maximum height it reaches, the stone reaches. Okay, so we're still working with you along the y-axis, realize. We are only talking about the y-axis right now. So 2h, so which equation should we use? Should we use s equal to ut plus half t square? And no, we'll have a time there and we don't really know how long it took. So let's just use the third equation, which does not really have time. Third equation being v square minus u square is equal to 2as. If you're using v square minus u square is equal to 2as, what is v? V is 0, because the speed at the top will be 0. When it reaches the maximum height, it will keep on slowing down, and it reaches maximum. When it reaches the maximum height, its speed along the y-axis is 0. Initial speed is given to you to be u sine alpha. Yes, u sine alpha, and a is just minus g, minus because negative direction. That's where the force is acting. The motion is along the positive y-axis, and the force is along the negative y-axis. That's why you have a negative sign here. And s is just 2h. So let's just put these values in. What do you get? You get minus u square sine square alpha is equal to minus 2g and twice of h. So let's rub these things here. Let's rub these things here. Let's rub the options as well. Okay, so let's simplify this a bit. The negative signs cancel off. The 2 multiplies by the other 2 to give you a 4. And what you essentially get is 2h, let's say, is equal to u square sine square alpha over 2g. Lovely. So let's call this equation 1. What we need to find out is ub, the ratios of the horizontal velocities, right? So ub divided by u cos alpha. This is essentially what we need to figure out. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about the x-axis. Yes. So let's talk about the x-axis. Actually, should we just get the solutions from here? Needs to sign. Okay, lovely. Let's talk about the x-axis. Okay, so how much time does it take for it to hit the board? Well, it will be the second solution, which will be T2. T2, that will be a solution of this equation. That will essentially be how much time it takes to hit the bird at the second instant. It's just moving at a constant speed along the x-axis, the speed being u cos alpha minus ub. So speed is equal to distance upon time. How much distance will it travel? So the distance from here to here will just be u cos speed minus up is equal to, let's call this distance some L over how much time? T2. The bird is just stationary. The bird is not moving at all. Okay. Let's just solve this now. We have to solve this. There is no way out. I'm thinking of a way out of doing it simply, but
सर
yes.
ये u cos alpha minus ub वाली चीज रिपीट कर दो प्लीज.
U cos alpha minus?
ub this.
Yes. This is UB.
I'm saying just please repeat this thing.
I'm sorry?
Sir, please repeat this thing.
UB is the speed of the bird, right? The bird is moving along the x-axis in the positive direction at speed UB. So what I'm doing is essentially I'm just going and sitting on the bird so that the speed of the stone along the x-axis becomes u cos alpha, which was initially there, minus UB. So essentially you're
Sir,
just going...
it is the speed of the ball with no stone with respect to the bird, right? वही है ना?
Yes, this is the speed of the stone with respect to the bird.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's go. Gt squared minus u sine alpha t plus h is equal to 0. Two solutions, t is equal to minus b, so u sine alpha plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac. So u square sine square alpha, that is b square, minus 4 into a, which is half gt. So you will have a half g here. Sorry, not a t, half g. And for c, you just have h divided by twice of a. So 2 into half of g. So the 2 cancels out here and the 2 cancels out here to give you two solutions, being u sine alpha plus minus square root of u square sine square alpha minus gh over g. Lovely. Okay, so these are the two solutions you have. Now notice from the equation 1, you have u sine alpha. So all you need is u sine alpha here, right? So let's do that. Let's do that thing that we're all thinking of doing right now, which is rubbing this, rubbing this. So your u sine alpha from this equation 1 is just u sine alpha is equal to 4gh and the square root of this. So let's put the value in. You get to square root of 4gh plus minus u sine alpha whole squared. So that's just 4gh minus gh over minus 2gh. Sorry, there's a 2 here as well because यहाँ पे एक 2 था. Minus 2gh divided by g. So what do you get? Let's do this as well. And let's do this as well. So what you get here is square root of 4gh plus minus square root of 2gh over g. So the two solutions you have, these equations you've already used, are 2 plus square root 2, 2 plus square root 2, gh square root here over g, so square root of h over g. This is the first solution you get. And the second solution is 2 minus square root 2, square root of h over g. Right? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, whenever you reach such a point in your calculation where you've done a lot of things and it's always a good habit to go back and check if whether what you're doing is right. How do you check? Minimum thing you can do is just check the units. Realize that this is t and you're getting a square root of h over g here. H has units meters and g has units of meter per second square, and this square root here. The m cancels out. This becomes a second square, which becomes just a second. So this makes sense. So you can be moderately confident that what you're doing up till now is correct. If you see a problem here, then you already know that there is a problem. So you won't go ahead and waste more time on this, what you're doing. So you'll go back and check exactly what the problem was. So it's always a good habit to keep on checking, are your units correct or not. Okay, let's move ahead. So as we can see, there are two solutions to t here. You have t1 and t2. And it's when you see this, the only thing that changes is there's a 2 plus root 2 on the top and 2 minus root 2 at the bottom. So the top one will essentially be the time it takes to hit the bird. So this actually will change to t1. My things have changed. No, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll keep my notation same. I'll just yes, I'll just call this one. Since this is bigger, I'll call this T2 and I'll call this one T1 because this is smaller. That makes sense. Okay, so now we have how much time it takes. Okay, lovely. So let's remove this.
Sir,
Yes.
L corresponds to half the range plus the distance वो 2h वाली से ना till the
I'm
bird.
sorry, can you say that again?
Here L corresponds to half the range of the projectile plus the distance between the 2h1 pole and this.
Yes. So this thing, essentially you're saying, when it reaches this height, which is 2h, remember it was here at h and the bird starts moving here in this direction. Yes, with speed ub. You have u here. Yes, so you're saying that the total distance here, L, is just your half range, the half of the range, plus this distance that you're traveling in this much amount of time.
Yeah, sir.
Well, yes, you can also say that the time total requires to hit the would be half of the total time plus this time. I mean, that's essentially the same statement. Okay, lovely. Let's remove this also. Okay, let's stare at this equation for a second. This equation seems interesting. Why does this equation seems interesting? Because you have a speed which is u cos alpha minus ub, and you already know what time it's going to take. Your time is essentially the solution to this equation. Wait, I lost my chain of thought. And that's also the total time for the bird. Right? Okay, that makes it super complicated. Okay, any thoughts? What can we let's just UP is equal to L over T2, which is 2 plus root 2 square root of H over G. What you need is UB over cos alpha. So let's just divide this whole thing by U cos alpha. So what does that make it? 1 minus UB over U cos alpha is equal to L over 2 plus square root 2 square root of H over G times U cos alpha. U sine alpha you already know. Let's say U cos alpha here. Do you know UP in terms of? Okay, so one thing we can do is we can actually just say that the horizontal distance that the bird is essentially traveling, the time is traveling this distance h, is essentially the same time it takes for you to reach here. Essentially saying that v t2, so v being ub, t2 is equal to u cos alpha. So it's the same time that they're taking, right? T2. Yes. Not T2. U cos alpha. Okay, this distance have to be the same. So, oh yes. Okay. Okay. Lovely. So look at this. So you have two times. You have T1 time, which is the time here, and you have a T2 time here. So the distance that you travel L, the stone, essentially the time it takes, the two both the solutions you already know, right? So the time it takes delta T is just T2 minus T1. Make sense? Yes,
Yes,
that
sir.
makes a lot of sense. So the distance, since they're traveling the total distance, this thing, so this is actually going to be delta t. So what u cos alpha is traveling in this time, which is delta t time, is equal to this distance, which is ub t2. So t2 time, the total time it's taking. Yes. Lovely. So what was T1 and what was T2? T1 was 2 minus root 2 square root of L over G. Square root of H over G, sorry.
H
H over H over G or L over G?
H.
Yes. Square root of L H over G. So your delta T is just your 2 cancels out. T, and you get a 2 root 2 here. Square root of H over G. Lovely. So let's put in the values here. What do you get? You get UB times T2, which is 2 plus root 2 square root of H over G is equal to U cos alpha. Lovely. Delta T, which is 2 root 2 square root of H over G. Now, your H over G cancels out. And what you need is UB over U cos alpha, right? So UB over U cos alpha. is just equal to 2 root 2 over 2 plus root 2. Take the root 2 in the denominator outside. You get root 2 plus 1 and the root 2 here from the top, and you cancel out the root 2's. You just get 2 over root 2 plus 1. And hence, it's the option D. Damn, these Olympiad questions are lovely. Does this solution make sense?
Yes, sir.
सर
Yes, Saksham, go ahead.
सर ये डेल्टा टी वाला एक बार फिर से समझा.
See, okay, let me rub this. Let me draw a better diagram.
सर
Yes, go ahead.
सर ये जो आपने T2 माइनस T1 लिखा है सर, ये T2 प्लस T1 नहीं होगा, क्योंकि T1 वो हो गया जो वो H तक पहुंचा, उसके बाद T2 वो हो गया जो वो 2H तक पहुंचा.
देखो, बॉल स्टोन यहाँ से स्टार्ट किया. It takes T1 time to reach here, and it takes T2 time to go to the top and come back here and reach this point, right? So this time it takes here to here, and this is time it takes from here to here. You need time that it takes delta t, which is from here to here, because this is the same distance that the ball is also traveling and the stone is also traveling. That is what I'm saying. This is distance L and this is also distance L.
ओके सर.
The bird is traveling with the speed ub and it takes time t2. जितना टाइम स्टोन यहाँ तक पहुंचने में ले रहा है to the second time, because the bird is starting at the moment when you're throwing the stone, right? So that's why it's just ub times t2, and the distance that the stone is traveling from here, so your x component will just be u cos alpha, and the time that will take will just be time from here to here, which is t2, the total time, minus t1, which is time from here to here. So that's essentially what we're doing.
सर
Yes, go ahead.
सर हमने बर्ड के लिए T2 क्यों लिया?
किसके लिए?
वो UP T2.
Because bird is also leaving the pole at the same time when you're throwing the stone, right? So जितना टाइम स्टोन को यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक आने में लगा इस पूरे उसमें, उतना टाइम बर्ड को यहाँ से यहाँ तक जाने में.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
Okay, now let's come back to laws of motion. Just going on.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
इसमें T2 is the time taken. The
Is
total time
the-
taken by the total time
See,
taken.
T1, T2 is the solution of one equation. Which equation is that? It is the equation of the stone. So T1 is the time it takes to reach height h, the first height h, and the second height h is the time T2 takes. So these are T1 and T2.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
we could also do it by taking the ground as the touch.
Just
And we
give
could
me a
use
second.
the
Okay, lovely. We're moving on to the next question. We're coming back to our laws of motion. Napoli. So you have this setup. This is an inclined plane, which is inclined at an angle theta. It rests on a frictionless surface, right? Yeah, on a frictionless surface. Friction is only wait, let me just write the question down fully, then I'll explain the question. So you have masses m2, m and m by 2 are connected through light strings as shown. Um, Pulleys are both light and smooth. So you can take the pulleys are light and smooth. So essentially, they have no mass and they are frictionless. Friction is only between, there is friction though. Friction is only between friction is only between block C, and the floor. Yes. System is released from rest. Find the acceleration of A, B, and C. The system is released from rest. Find the accelerations. Find the accelerations of A, B, and C. Okay, so this is stuck here. The whole triangle is not moving, thankfully. Yeah, the mass of the triangle is not given. There is some friction that only the C object is facing, and that friction is the constant of friction is actually given to you, and it's given to you to be 10. Yes. Is given to be tan theta by 2. Yes. Find the accelerations. There are options as well. So I'll write down the options here. The options are A, acceleration of A. So I'll just write acceleration of A with capital A, let's just say, is 3 over 2, 3 over 4 sine theta. B, acceleration of C is 3 over 4 sine theta. Okay. Acceleration of B is sine theta, or D, you have, this is option C, and D, you have acceleration of B is equal to 3 over 4 sine theta. Go ahead, draw the free body diagrams first. Okay, thoughts? Option D. Uh, B. Yes. Wait. No, 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 not option D. No. Option A is correct. Actually, there are multiple answers to this. There are multiple correct. Obviously, I mean, that's how it's arranged. These are essentially not a single correct multiple choice question. These are multiple correct multiple choice questions. A and D. No. This question will tell you a lot about constraints. How do you essentially use constraints and what essentially constraint means. Okay, 2 more minutes. I'll start at 6:20. A and B. Okay. What about C? Nobody's talking about C. Everybody hates C.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, there isn't any G in all the accelerations. Why?
Sorry, my bad. My bad. There will be G in all of them, right? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
There will be G in all of them. Sorry. Didn't write this. So here you could have known just by seeing the units, because the right hand side the units were angles with unit less, dimension less, just ratios, and the left hand side is meter per second square. So that could not be true. Neither of them. You need to have an acceleration somewhere. Units are very useful in life, especially when you're solving questions, difficult questions. Only D is false. Absolutely correct. Lovely. Okay, should I clear everything? No, diagram फिर बनाना पड़ेगा. Let's have this. Just give me a second. I'll just put my laptop on charge. Okay, wait here on. Okay, let's start. So, first of all, like tradition, draw free body diagrams. Let's take the body A, mass m/2. What all is acting on this? Well, there's a gravitational force, so which is m/2g, right? What else is there? There's a tension force, right? So up there, let's call this tension T. And since it's the same string, it's going to be T throughout. The tension is going to be the same throughout. How do I see that? Here. Okay, so is that all about A? Is there something else? Am I missing something? Am I missing some force here? Yes, no, maybe.
Reaction force.
Yes, lovely. Thank you so much. The normal reaction, let's call it N. Now, capital M. Now, what about capital M? Well, you have capital mg force that's acting downwards. Gravity is always there. And there are two tensions here, right? One tension which is pulling it upwards, the other tension that is pulling it downwards. Since it's both are essentially equal and opposite, they have zero essentially effect on B. So these are essentially internal forces. And you have a normal reaction. Let's call this normal reaction N2. Let's call this N1. Then you have the third C. So this was A, this was B. Now we have C. You have M over 2. Now C has M by 2G as the gravitational force that acts on it. Normal reaction, yes, it's obviously there, N3, but there's a frictional force as well. Since there's a tension force that's acting downwards, so it's essentially the whole trajectory is going to be downwards. So the friction force is going to act against the motion, right? So it's going to act in the direction opposite to the motion. The motion is going to be downwards. So it's going to act upwards. This is going to be the frictional force. How much is this going to be? Mu times
M by 2 G cos theta.
mu times n3, right?
Yes sir. But मतलब मैंने उसको getting the value of n3.
I don't know. Okay. Um. Okay. What else? Is there something else that I'm missing, or have I taken everything into account? Yes. No. Maybe.
Yes, sir.
Acceleration कौन लिखेगा भाई? Acceleration भी तो लिखना होता है. ये this whole thing m by 2a is moving downwards. Let's say with an acceleration of a. The B object is moving again downwards. Let's say with an acceleration ab, and the C object is also moving downwards with an acceleration ac. Acceleration भी तो लिखना होता है. Anything else I'm missing? No.
No.
Hopefully not. Okay. So let's draw the X so that angles it's easier to figure out. First one, this angle is going to be theta because it's essentially the same angle. You have the x-axis and you have along the angle. So this is going to be theta again. And draw the y-axis as well. So that this is 90 minus theta. And this becomes the theta again. Because this is, and this, the tension and the normal reaction are going to be perpendicular to each other. Okay. So let's break down the motion along the thing and not along the x-axis and the y-axis. So let's take along the wedge, which is essentially our x-axis if we just tilt our head at an angle theta. So for A, what is happening? You have acceleration m a, which is m over 2 times a. The total force. What is the total force equal to? Somebody? Somebody? How much is this angle?
Minus tension.
How much is this angle? चलो ये बता दो.
90 minus theta.
90 minus theta. Lovely. So this is 90 minus theta. This is m2g. So what component is going to be along this? You
Sine
have
theta, m2
m
Sine
over 2g cos 90 minus theta. So sine theta. Lovely. Minus the tension. Yes. Lovely. For B, what do you have? You have the t's essentially cancel out along the wedge. Other than that, you have m. It's just the mass is m a times b. A by b. Sorry, a b is equal to mg. Again, it's sine theta, and there's no other force, right? So that's it. What about C? इसमें somebody has to help me, please.
m2g sine theta.
So m by 2 AC is equal to P. There is a T in downward direction. That's obviously there. T plus
m by 2
m over 2g sine theta, because this same thing along this axis. This is 90 minus theta. Same thing as we did in the previous case. Other than that, do you have any other force? Yes, we do have the frictional force, which is given to be mu times N3. Lovely. So this is along the axis. Let's remove some things here. Now what we talked about was along the wedge. Now let's talk about perpendicular to the wedge. What happens? So now you have perpendicular to the wedge. What happens to A? You have, first of all, it's not accelerating along the wedge, so you just have zero because mass times acceleration is zero, so you just have zero. And what about the forces? Well, you have m over 2g, and you have cos or sine. Well, you have sine 90 minus theta, so it's cos theta, essentially. Any other force? Yes, you have a minus n1. That's awesome. For B, what do you have? You have again zero because no acceleration along the axis perpendicular to the wedge. You have zero is equal to somebody.
mg cos theta.
Minus n2. Lovely. What about C? You have 0 is equal to m over 2 g cos theta minus n3. So you have the value of n1, you have the value of n2, and you have the value of n3 from these three equations. Actually, before that, let's just count how many equations and how many variables you have. How many equations do you see in these? I mean, there are 6 equations, we can see that. 2 for each of the objects. But how many variables are there? Count.
7.
7 variables. Which all? You have acceleration of A, B, and C. So you have 3 accelerations. You have 3 normal reactions, right? You have N1, N2, N3. What else? Is there another variable?
Tension and
One
mu.
tension.
The tension.
And friction coefficient also.
I'm sorry, did you say something else?
Friction coefficient.
Friction coefficient is actually given to you. It's given, it's a constant, first of all, since it's a constant. So you consider it in terms of mu only. It's not really a variable. If the question comes that mu is a function of something, for example, there might be questions where you have mu as a function of x, you need to calculate it as a function of distance. So sure, in that case, you might consider mu to be a variable, but since mu is a constant, it's a constant. And that constant is actually also given to you. It's tan theta over 2. So you will have 7 variables, right? You have 7 variables and 6 equations. That's something. I mean, we are still 1 equation short. Where does that additional equation come from?
The constraints.
The constraint. What is the constraint here? The constraint in this question will essentially be, if you take the length of the string, the total length of the string, if I say length total of the string should be a constant. That is one constraint that I have. The total length is going to be constant, right? So let's break the total length down into its constituents. So let's call this length L1, this length L2, this length L3, this length L4, this length L5. We've broken the whole length down into its constituents, right? So the L total is just L1 plus L2 plus L3 plus L4 plus L5 is equal to 0, right? Now,
Sir, why is it 0?
Is it not is equal to 0, is equal to a constant. I'm sorry. Is equal to a constant. Now, you have this equation. This is your seventh equation, right? So now you have 7 equations and 7 variables. So now this whole system can be solved. How can this system be solved? You realize that this equation is the equation of lengths, right? So if we just take a derivative with respect to time on both sides, my equation will change into an equation of velocities. And if I take another derivative, my equation that was now an equation of velocities now changes into an equation of accelerations, right? So let's do that. Let's take double derivative on both sides. So let's see what happens. So d by dt squared, dt by d2 by dt squared of L1. What is d2 by dt square of L1? It's just
0.
going to be the acceleration of,
A1.
I'm sorry? Can you say that again? Haspel?
A1.
A1. So
A1.
AA essentially. Okay. So yeah. So this is just going to be L1. So this is how fast m by 2 the A object is moving. So this is just going to be your A. So AA, acceleration of A. What about L2? Well, L2 is the length from the top to this point. This length will always be constant. So the derivative of this will be 0. So d2 by dt squared of L2 is just going to be 0, because this length from here to here is going to be constant. Similarly, the length from here to here, which is L3, is also going to be constant. So you'll have another 0 here. And the length from here to here, which is L4, will also be a constant. So you have another 0. So the derivative of L2, L3, and L4, since L2, L3, and L4 are constants, will be 0. And all that will remain is L5. Now, the second derivative of L5, what is that? L5, yes. Second derivative of L5.
AC.
AC.
It's AC or is it minus AC? See, d2 by dt square of L5. When will this be positive? This will be positive when L5 will be increasing, right? Just a second, I got rid of my whiteboard somehow. Just found it back. Where am I?
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
sir, could you please explain why we use this differentiation here?
Because you need another equation. Where will you get the additional equation from? You have 7 variables. You have 6 equations. You need additional equations.
Sir,
Sir, can't we just say that the if two masses are connected by an inextensible string, they will move by the same acceleration?
But yes, you can directly say that. You can directly say that the acceleration of A is going to be equal to acceleration of C. But you need to go through the logic of that, right? You need to know why that is going to be the case. And it's going to be the case as I'm going to show you. So derivative of L5. Now L5 increase, just a second. When L5 increases, if L5 is increasing, so that would mean that M, capital M, is is moving faster than the C, which is M over 2. So essentially, if you're sitting on M, M2 is going backwards. So the acceleration, so if L5 increases, this thing starts moving backwards. This only happens when it starts moving backward. But the acceleration is in the downward direction, right? So this second derivative will actually be equal to minus of AC. So essentially, this whole constraint equation that it converts into this all lengths being equal to constant, you can convert this into your seventh equation, which will just be AA minus AC should be equal to 0, which means
Sir,
that A is equal to AC. Go ahead. Now ask.
सर AC माइनस क्यों है?
AC minus इसलिए because L, see, d2 by dt square of L5 will be positive when L5 is increasing and will be negative when L5 is decreasing, right?
Yes, sir.
If so, you need to have L5 that is decreasing. If it's accelerating downwards, then L5 will decrease, no?
तो
Because
सर
it's
यहाँ
moving,
पे हम m का velocity 0 मान रहे हैं ना?
M ka velocity is, see, you can always go and sit on M.
अच्छा, okay sir. Yes sir.
So that's why, since it's moving downwards, you'll have a minus sign here. So you'll
Sir,
have AA is equal to AC. So now it's all lovely. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. It's all lovely because now you have 7 equations and 7 variables. So let's
sir,
go
am I
ahead and
audible?
solve our problem. Okay, so 3 variables you can already remove. These 3 normal reactions you can just remove by using the perpendicular components. How do you remove them? By saying that from the A equation, you get N1 is equal to M over 2G cos theta. From the B equation, you get N2 is equal to Mg cos theta. And N3 is equal to Mg M over 2G cos theta. Right? Right,
Yes.
wrong? Lovely. So 3 equations.
Yes, yes.
Very nice. So 3 variables I've already removed. So this N3 that is there here, you can just take this value of N3 and put it here. So now what you have 4 variables. There were 7, you remove 3, you have 4 remaining variables. And how many equations that are remaining? 1 equation this and 3 along the wedge. So you have 4 equations, 4 variables still. So let's progress now. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's just remove all of this. AC. Okay. So the remaining equations that you have is the first equation being this one, second equation being M over 2AA is equal to M over 2G sine theta minus T. Yes. Then you have MAB is equal to MG sine theta. Yes. And then you have M by 2. Let's just remove the niche wala no. Let's just remove all of this. ये तो मैंने लिख ही दिया है. So you have M over 2 AC is equal to T plus M over 2G sine theta minus mu N3. N3 just take the value from here and just put it here. So you have mu Mg over 2 cos theta. So now 4 equations, 4 variables, lovely. Let's just take the value of AA from here and AC from here. Actually, okay, first thing to you realize from the second equation that AB is just equal to G sine theta. So this is option C. So option C is correct. You already realized that. Now, should I remove? Okay, so these 2 equations here, the second equation and the fourth equation, was the third equation. So let's just substitute the first equation, the second and fourth equation, and let's just convert everything into AA, and then we'll subtract the T's to continue. Let's see. Okay, substituting back, first of all here, what you get, M by 2 AA plus M is equal to M over 2 G sine theta minus T. And inside this equation, so here you didn't really do anything because AA is just AA. You get M by 2 AC, which is now becomes AA. So let's just move this and just make it AA should be equal to T plus M over 2 G sine theta minus mu mg over 2 cos theta. Let's just add these 2 equations here. Why are we adding the 2 equations here? Because we see there's a minus T here and a T here. If we wanted to calculate T, we'll just subtract these 2 equations. Since we just want to calculate AA, we're just adding these 2 equations together. So let's happily do that. So on adding these 2 equations, what do you get? You get M by 2 AA, which just becomes MAA, just become m by 2 g sine theta, m by 2 g sine theta. These just add to give mg sine theta. The t's cancel out, and you have a minus mu mg over 2 cos theta. Lovely. So your acceleration in the A is just equal to, what is this? G sine theta minus mu g over 2 cos theta. So this is your A acceleration. So your A is also not true. So A is wrong. And what is your,
Sir, putting value of mu we get the
I'm sorry?
value of A, right? सर ए की वैल्यू, सर म्यू की वैल्यू पुट कर देंगे tan थीटा by 2 तो आ जाएगा.
Okay, lovely. So mu is just tan theta by 2. That's true. Here you have it. Mu is just tan theta by 2. So let's just put it g sine theta minus g by 2. So tan theta over 2. Okay. Okay, lovely. Cos theta. So tan theta is just sine theta upon cos theta. So tan theta into cos theta just becomes sine theta again. So you have g sine theta minus g over 4 sine theta. This just makes it 3 by 4 g sine theta. So yes, your A is also correct. And from equation 1, you have AA is equal to AC. So this is also equal to AC. So your problem, your B is also correct. So the only thing that is not correct is D. Yes. So A, B, C, D. Lovely. A, B, C, sorry. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Lovely.
सर एक बार constraint बता देंगे क्या होता है constraint?
Absolutely. So the point is, the practice that we are following is we're building the free body diagrams. The free body diagrams will always give us 6 equations. Sorry, 2n equations if n is the number of free body diagrams you're making. So let me just clear everything and I'll tell you what essentially we're doing. Now, if you have, let's say, n boxes. Now these n boxes can move along the x-axis and can move along the y-axis, right? All of them. So let's say you have dot 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 n boxes here. So total number of variables is both, since it's all two-dimensional, the total number of variables will just be 2n, right?
Yes.
Total number of variables, no, wrong. No, total number of equations will be 2n. The number of variables,
sir.
the number of variables will be the xy, essentially the x position and the y position, and the x velocity and the y velocity of each. So how many variables will there be? There will be 4n variables. And you'll find that happening a lot, that your number of variables will be greater than your number of equations. And why is it happening? Because of exactly this phenomenon. Just adding up the number of equations and number of variables. Now, where does the gap of, now you have a gap of 2n equations, right? Where does that gap come fill in? How do you fill in that gap? You fill in that gap only when these bodies are connected somehow. For example, in the previous question, the bodies were connected by strings. So essentially what I'm saying is that when things are connected, those connections essentially make a constraint equation. So there can be multiple forms of constraint equations. One constraint equation can be exactly things like this, where you have a pulley and where you have, let's say you have another thing here and you have another thing here and you have something here and something here. And all of this is just held together somehow. You have mass A, you have mass B. Point is that the total length of the string, one has to realize, is going to be a constant. So since here also, if you say that all of these things are fixed, this length is still going to be fixed, and this length is still going to be fixed, and this length is still going to be fixed. So these will cancel out. So how does this take place in our particular example? Well, in our particular example, what we had was the slope where there were 3 masses, and they were connected by this string. Okay, this should be thoda aage. You understand the point. So what I'm saying is that the length of the string has to be a constant. The total length has to be a constant. You cannot this because why does it have to be a constant? Okay, we have to be clear about this also. Why is it a constant? It is a constant because the string is inextensible. If the string can be extended also, for example, if you change the string to a spring, if you change the string to a spring, then your things changes altogether. It doesn't remain a constraint. Then your constraint changes and there is additional degrees of freedom. And we can talk about springs at some other point. But here, since they are strings and these are going to be inextensible or incompressible also, so the total length is going to be a constant. What is the total length going to be? Well, it's going to be the sum of L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5, right? So this is going to be L1 plus L2 plus L3 plus L4 plus L5, which this should also be a constant. Now, one realizes from from this diagram here that this L2, if you see, this pulley is always fixed on the top, and this pulley bottom is always fixed here. So L2 will always be constant. So this will always be a constant. What about L3? Well, L3, the two pulleys are again fixed. So L3 will also be a constant. And similarly, L4 will also be a constant because these pulleys are fixed. How does them being constant help us? Since they're constant, what one can do is club all of them and take them to the other side so that you have a constant minus a bunch of constants, which also give you another constant, right? So constant plus constant is also a constant, constant minus constant is also a constant. So you'll have L1 plus L5 is equal to a constant. Now what you do is you take derivatives on both sides. Why? Because this is an equation on lengths, but we are already applying Newton's equations. We already have Newton's equations, and Newton's equations are equations of acceleration. So we need to convert this equation of length into equation of acceleration. So let's convert that. How do you convert length into acceleration? By taking derivatives. So let's take a double derivative on both sides. What you have is d2 by dt squared of L1 plus d2 by dt squared of L5 should be equal to 0 because derivative of constant is just 0. L1 is now see d. So this is rate of change of L1, right? This is rate of change of L1. Now rate of change of L1 will be positive if L1 is increasing, right? Acceleration जो मैंने सबका बोल रखा है वो सबका downward direction में बोल रखा है. I've called this acceleration as AA, AB and AC, right? So if L1 extends, if L1 increases, my body A will accelerate downwards. So this will just be positive. This will just be AA. What about L5? Since L5 is at the back, increasing L5, so making L5 longer, will mean that AC is actually going, the object C is going backwards. Since you're increasing C, that means C is going backwards, right? But that is not what is happening. It is accelerating downwards. So you'll have a minus sign here. You have a minus AC here. And this means you'll have an AA minus AC is equal to 0. This implies AA is equal to AC. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir.
This is a very, very important concept, and you'll realize if any of you study physics later on, there is another interpretation of all these equations, of all these, which is essentially starts from energy and not from forces. So it's essentially called the Lagrangian formulation, and then you have the Hamiltonian formulation, you have other things there. Essentially you see the importance of these constraints, because there you need these constraints. Their problems become very, very complicated and you need these kinds of constraints. It's essentially something that is useful there, and I find it useful here also, and I think it will be very useful if you all of you just solve all problems, especially problems of mechanics, just by writing down the equations, seeing how many variables there are, just making more and finding more and more equations, finding more and more constraints until unless your equations are equal to the number of variables, and then you can go ahead and solve the whole system of equations.
Sir,
That is essentially the strategy that one needs to follow. Yes, go ahead.
सर ये L1 और L5 is not मतलब
I'm sorry.
the strings are inextensible, right?
Yes.
So how are L1 and L5 changing? I mean, length.
See, this can still go आगे पीछे, right? So as in this can be here, this can be here, and this can be long back here, such that this is very very close to it, right?
Yes,
This
sir.
can also happen.
Okay.
Or what other can happen is that the first one is very very close to this one, such that the third one is actually very very far away.
Sir, and
So
L2, L3, L4 being constant means वो जो दो पुली के बीच की लेंथ है वही कांस्टेंट है और उसी में से जो स्ट्रिंग जा
yes,
रही है.
so if you see here, your L1 has changed, right? Your L1 is changing, but your L2 has remained the same. It's
Yes,
still
sir.
distance here. Your L3 also has remained the same. Your L4 has also remained the same, but your L5 has changed. इसमें छोटा था, इसमें बड़ा हो गया. So that's all I'm saying. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir. सर और एक और चीज सर.
Yes, go ahead.
सर जब हम इस मोशन को क्या कहते हैं कंसिडर कर रहे हैं सो वी नॉट मतलब हम वो टाइमिंग्स या वो सिचुएशन नहीं ले रहे ना कि जब ये बॉक्स सी विल क्लैश विद बॉक्स बी.
Box A with
नहीं
will
बॉक्स
see.
सी विल क्लैश विद बॉक्स बी बिकॉज देन हमारा L5 भी 0 हो जाएगा.
Yes, when they collapse, your L5 will just be 0, and your L1 just becomes a constant. So essentially they essentially when they collide, you're essentially saying you have a 1 m/2 here, and it's connected by a bigger mass which has mass 3 m/2, because it's m plus m/2. So it just becomes a tight system. That is all.
And so
Makes
one
sense?
last thing.
Yes.
So why can't we make a equation from taking the whole system as one?
Taking the whole system as well.
Yes.
You can. You absolutely can. But that equation will essentially be the same as the equation that you will get from this constraint. It will still be the same equation. Let's do that. That is actually a brilliant good question. Very nice. Let's do that. We should get exactly the same equation.
So including the boxes, right?
Yes. If you consider the whole, how will you consider the whole thing together here? No, these are individual parts. Can you?
Sir,
The whole system is moving. मतलब भले अलग-अलग acceleration but still it's moving.
I think you can. Very interesting. Let's see. Okay, it's accelerating downward. It's accelerating downward. It's already broken up into three parts, right? How can you consider the whole thing as? No, you cannot consider the whole thing to be as one system, right? You cannot. No, you cannot. You cannot. Because they are individual. They are moving away from each other also. If they were moving together, then you could have considered them as one entity. But since they have some relative motion with respect to each other, you cannot. Yes, that makes sense. So you will have to use constraint equations in this question like this. Yeah, make sense?
Yes, sir. And sir, one more thing, the acceleration of this body B is not equal to A or C just because we have pulleys around it.
Actually, I'd have to think about that, because it's not only the pulley, right? It's also the friction.
No. Friction was just between C and that
Yes.
surface.
This see, essentially the friction is doing is also creating an asymmetry in the system, right? It's breaking the symmetry. If everything had
Yes, sir.
friction,
Yes, sir.
no, it's just because of the pulley. It does not have to, because the friction was in the final equation, right? Oh no. Yes, the friction is such that because you're given mu to be tan theta by 2, right? So the friction is such that this problem is solved like this, that these two are equal. Otherwise, they won't be equal. If it's a mu, if it's a your A and C were still equal, right? Yes, your A and C were still equal, but you had a long ass expression. I'll have to think about this more. I'll get back to you on this.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
sir, can you please solve for AC again?
I'm sorry.
Sir, the value of AC.
The value of AC. The value of
Yes, sir.
AC will be the same as AA, right? Because you
Yes.
got that from the constraint equation. Yes. So your AC is just AA, which was found out to be 3 by 4 sine theta multiplied by G. Okay, I think let's just stop here and let's meet on Friday next. This whole thing about constraints, was this helpful?
Yes, sir.
Lovely.
Yes.
Because it's a very, very
Sir,
important thing which is not really taught
So
clearly.
we can even use it
I
for those two pulley systems.
Yes, you can use constraint equations in any problem in classical mechanics. All problems, all any kind of problem you see, you can apply these constraints equations. Actually, that is what you need to do. That is the way how you solve a general solution, how you get general solutions by solving these constraint equations. These constraint equations can actually be even more interesting. So not only like constraint that it's this kind of a constraint that how do you say that the whole length is equal. You can also have other constraints like for example, if you have these two, for example, when we were talking about molecules, if you guys were in thermodynamics, I don't remember. But we talked about the degrees of freedom of each molecule, and how if the bond between them, if it's strong, it's essentially a constraint. So it's essentially a similar thing, a constraint equation. And if you have a third one here, your total number of variables, so essentially being x, y, z for each three goes up to 9. And since how they're connected, they're solid, then you have three constraints. So it's essentially the same problem. What you're doing is you're taking physics and you're looking at the geometry, and mm, you're saying that geometry will tell me everything about these equations, which it does because geometry is nice. Okay, let's just stop here, and because this conversation